We got a $2 super chat from Mr. D. Cool. Hashtag Lions. Would trading DeAndre Swift be our next move? I actually don't believe that's going to be our next move. I think it is best for DeAndre Swift to stay with the Detroit Lions. He actually gives you production, unlike Jeffrey Okudah. DeAndre Swift actually gives you something on the field. It's more of an injury concern, and he doesn't cost a lot. Jeffrey Okudah cost a lot of money, so there's two big differences there. And I think if you were to get a Bijan Robinson, this is really good to have Swift still on this football team because you're trying to compete for the NFC North and compete in the NFC, and you cannot have enough backs right there, right? If there's an injury, say to a David Montgomery or a DeAndre Swift or Robinson, you just flip one of these guys in there, and you still got an elite running game. I think that's really important for the Detroit Lions as we're trying to be a team to make it to a Super Bowl. But the difference between Swift and Okudah is big. Swift, impact player. Okudah, not an impact player. It's just the way it is. The only problem with Swift is injury concerns. And so look, if you keep him, great. If you trade him away, is it really worth it? I don't know. I don't think it's really worth it. So that's just my personal opinion right there. But if you guys got questions in the comment section, let us know. Put hashtag Lions, hashtag whatever you want to put in hashtag in there. We will get to it. If I miss it, it's going to happen. Why? Because I am a human being. We've got 135 in you in the building right now. Hashtag Lions will get it done. Also, again, on NFL Draft Night, we're going to be live at Soaring Eagle Casino. Myself, Dosa Dion, Herman Moore, Chrissy, Zavakar. We're going to have all sorts of fun interacting, doing some prize giveaways. We're going to be doing a live. It's going to be epic. And we're going to bring in Dan and anyone else that wants to come on to talk some Lions live, getting it done. Real Lions live, not just Lions live talk. Real Lions live talk. So it's going to be really, really good. Yes, Kurt, I look rested because I am rested. I was a zombie a couple days ago. Got some food in me, doing much better. And that is freaking awesome. Let's see here. It says, get that bum out, wasted draft picks. It was a massive waste of draft picks, and that's 100% correct. We got Devin Davis, hashtag FGB. Would we have saved cap space if Okudah was traded after June? I think this is an option where the team decided to hold some of the money back. And same with the Atlanta Falcons. It was a trade regarding money that they both compensated on. So it wouldn't have really mattered, in my opinion. If the Lions wanted to get less draft capital, they would have paid less of the cap. That's just how that one works. So I don't think it had anything to do with anything like of that sort. Let's see. They trade Jeffrey Okudah so JMO can wear number 1. But what about number 0? Who's going to wear number 0? Got to get that one in there. Let's see. We got Combat Sack. What do you think the Seahawks will do at the 5th pick? Ant-Man.
See, no one agrees with me, but I think they're going quarterback this year. And I think because you've got 2 development quarterbacks sat there who are going to take 2 years, let's say, to develop. You look at the contract they gave Geno Smith. It looks big, but he can earn half that money in his first year. Teams never front load quarterback contracts if they have faith in that guy to be their starter long term. That contract looks like this is your team for another year or 2, Geno, but then we're moving on to another guy. And you've seen with them this year, they can be a very competitive side. They might not be in a position to get a top quarterback again, especially with everything going on in the NFC West at this moment in time. So I think they'll go development quarterback. I think they will sit someone behind Geno, let Geno have his opportunity to go and win in the playoffs, to earn all this money. That'll keep him motivated, whilst one of these rookies who can't enter the team right away has a couple of years developing, making sure he's, making the transition as smooth as possible. That's how I read that contract. Otherwise, why would you give Geno the opportunity to earn over half his contract in 1 year of a 3-year deal? I just don't think there's the faith in him long term. So I think they do development quarterback.
And I actually concur with you. I know the idea of them going edge is very enticing, but at the same time with Geno Smith, he's an older quarterback. And if you have the opportunity to get a developmental player underneath a Geno Smith for a year, I think that really spells good news for that franchise going forward. And if you're the Detroit Lions sitting at pick 6, that's kind of what you want. So then you have an opportunity to get a better prospect who can start right away for the Detroit Lions, potentially at edge or at DB, wherever you want to get right there. I got a question here for Dan. Hashtag Lions, would you want running back Roshan Johnson or Tyja Spears from the Okudah 5th round draft pick?
Johnson by landslide. That dude's got some long strides, and he's like watching somebody play Madden football when they hit the speed button. He just takes off and explodes. I like him a lot.
Me, White, in Holmes, we trust. Carter Anderson first. Trade up a few picks if necessary for Witherspoon with second, first round picks. Look, it's very possible. I think we've talked about it endlessly here on this channel, on their personal channels right there, is that the Detroit Lions are an aggressive football team. And if they feel that there's a player that is falling, and if they need to go ahead and use some of this draft capital that we got to move up to get that said player, you'll do that. Right now, we have 9 draft picks. There's no freaking way on earth all 9 players would make this football team. That's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to come up with a smart plan and use some of this draft picks, whether it be go for a 5 and a 6 to go up to 4, but whatever you want. Having 9 draft picks with this deep of a roster is not going to be something that is going to be beneficial after the NFL draft. Hashtag FGB, what do you guys think about trading for Quintez Cephas? Trade away Quintez Cephas. I don't think a team would trade for Quintez Cephas. Ant-Man, look, I like Cephas. Unfortunately, he's not shown an ability to stay healthy. And if you can't do that, what team is going to want you?
No, he's got 0 trade value. I don't even think he makes our 53, and this is coming from someone who likes him. But I just think the depth is set now with guys like Reynolds and Raymond coming back. Your depth is set, and then your starters are in as well, and we're liably going to get another starting wide receiver in this draft as well. So I think it just spells curtains. I'd like to see him hang around on the practice squad if possible. But yeah, I just there's no trade value for him right now. So no, I don't think we could.
We got a $20 super chat from Mike McCall, a real one. Absolutely awesome there. We got a question, hashtag FGB. I am starting to agree with Mike that we have very few roster spots available this year for our draft picks. Do you think Brad Holmes will trade picks for future picks next year and we will have more roster spots available? Fantastic question. Absolutely love that question. And I agree. I think it's a really smart and sound idea if we do trades in this draft to acquire draft picks for next year. It doesn't necessarily have to be a first-round pick, but draft picks, capital. Because, look, we got to look for the future as well as the now. And now with 9 draft picks, let's throw some of these picks or make some moves to where we have in 2024 some picks for the Lions to be aggressive in that year's draft. Now, I know Ant-Man and I kind of disagree on this a little bit more. He wants to use some of this capital, and that's perfectly fine. That's just my personal preference. Throw it to Ant-Man. Give me the devil's advocate view on that.
I mean, yeah, I just think right now we're in a window where I kind of want to load up on the guys and go for it. If you're in the right situation, like I think we are this year, with these later picks especially, I think this draft is chock full of talent, especially in those mid-rounds. And you don't know if that's going to come round again next year. It might do. I mean, hell, the first round might be better next year. If you get some more picks, that's fine. But I think for this year, as you know, Dan's alluded to this, there are only so many good players in the first round this year. I wouldn't be trading back from like we were at 6 to, I've seen some people say like the Vikings in the 20s. I ain't doing that for a pick next year because at the 20s, I'm not going to get a really good player this year, and I might do next year, but I want to load up on talent now. I've got 5 picks in the top 80. I could potentially get 5 really good picks. I could finish off my defense, which I think we can, and I think we can get a lot of good guys as depth for next year. I don't know. For me, this draft sits well with the picks we have, and I don't want to waste a lot of them just going back to next year on the hopes that it might be better. I want us to go after this division this year because the window is open. I think there's talent for us where we need it. So let's go and do it. But if we do, I'm not going to be upset, but it's just my own personal preference this time.
Herman Moore is about to get on here in a minute. He's going to talk. I can't wait to hear his idea of what occurred with the Jeffrey Okudah trade. And you could talk about event. It's going to be a great opportunity to have some fun in the Detroit area. Hashtag smash the hole. Yo, I saw Devon White from the Bucks wants a trade. What do you think about bringing White in at linebacker? And would you pay him, Dan, the man, after that?
If I was to evaluate it, at least in my head from a GM standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense with what we've already have at linebacker, what we've given Anzalone. This roster is pretty constructed now to win. I think we all agree that they have a shot at the division. They've got a shot at making a run in the playoffs. So my standpoint is, if the number one job for a GM is to put talent on the field, the number two job is to balance the books and plan for the future would be number three. So we've got a bunch of guys this year that are all set to play. After this year, we've got to make some hard choices on replacing some players that we may not be able to afford to resign while trying to get younger. So that's why I was saying with this year's draft, I really think out of our 9 picks, we're probably only going to end up with 5, maybe 6. The rest of them are either going to be used for trade up ammunition or trade back to get draft picks for future seasons.
$5 super chat from Steven Like. It says, hi, Herman. What's with this possible Marcus Peters rumors? Could it be because of the Okudah trade? I think Holmes will move up for a linebacker. What do you think about that, Ant-Man?
I would like to think Holmes would move up. I mean, we've had the whole linebacker debate a million times by this point. I think they're I think they can get one in the second. I don't know if they need to trade up to get the guy. I know my guy's going to be sat there at both second-round picks, so I would hope they would go early because it is a position of need for us. We need someone who's good at coverage in that linebacking core. And
correct.
It's been a problem for years. And, this, if you're going to draft players, if you go draft a linebacker, draft something you don't have. I mean, this is the thing I have with Jack Campbell. I know people love Jack Campbell, but we have him on this team already. He's not a coverage guy. We don't have a coverage guy. So if you're going to go and get one, then do it, because how much problems has running backs given us, tight ends given us in the passing game, time and time again, because we don't have that athletically gifted, coverage-minded linebacker to be able to deploy against them. So I would like to think that it is part of their priorities. I know people say it's not valuable or anything, but a smart GM will not fall for those whims from experts who do all this and that. I would like to think. I think if the right guy's there, and he said it, if the right guy's there at any position, he will get him. So I think that he will get a linebacker in round 2. I think he will.
I agree.
Or he might trade up for one, but it's a gaping hole in this team, and to not fill that hole is negligence. It's not been smart at a low-value position. It's negligence. So I would hope that is the one move he does make this year.
Thank you so much, Stephen Likes, for that $5 super, but I concur. They're going to get a linebacker, and I do think it's in round 2. They have looked at a ton of linebackers with pre-draft visits, talking at the Senior Bowl. Trenton Simpson, they've talked to Noah Sewell. There's a lot of players the Lions are talking about with the linebacker position, and I don't think they're necessarily going to do in round 1, but 2, I do think is the spot for that. They're going to get this thing figured out. It is something that they're going to somewhat get corrected. Now, the amount of time this player gets on the field, that will be dependent, right? Because you got Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez primarily. Well, but I think if they draft a guy in round 2, he's probably going to get in there a little bit more than Malcolm. But absolutely.